Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Vibing with Sleezy, the podcast. This is season 7, episode 21. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, listening, downloading, and making this an amazing season. This is the finale episode. I'll be back with season 8 in 2027. But again, I can't thank you all enough for all the listens, all the love, and the support. I had an amazing guest list this season, and I've also done some incredible solo episodes. So, for this finale episode, this will be dedicated to the 2026 World Cup. The World Cup's coming to the United States in multiple cities, and soccer is incredible to watch, especially on the world stage like that. Chelsea, part of the English Premier League, is my favorite team. I always root for the USA, but Ivory Coast, that's another team that I've always rooted for as well because of Didier Drogba. But overall, the World Cup is just fun to tune in no matter where it's at in the world. And I have grown up over the years just watching it. And it was a big part of my college days, big part of my 20s. And now I'm really, really excited to see how this World Cup plays out. I want to break it all down to you, give you some information, go over all the teams, and just make this an incredible finale episode for sports fans and Vibing with Sleazy the podcast fans. But again, thank you all for listening, supporting, and showing love. And I will be back with season 8 in 2027. But let's start it off talking about the World Cup. On July 19th, one country will hoist and take home the FIFA World Cup. But on June 11th, 48 different teams from Morocco to Portugal, Uzbekistan to France will dream the impossible dream, one in which anything is possible. I'm pretty much going to break down all these teams, and I'm going to give you a look at all 48 World Cup teams. And we're getting pretty close to the tournament. So the first team is Cape Verde. Who doesn't love a World Cup first timer? The island nation off the coast of Africa with a population of 500,000, which is the smallest team ever since Iceland in 2018 to make the World Cup. They'll dive in the deep end by opening up a group stage action against Spain. The Blue Sharks will be led by longtime coach Babista, who's been in charge since 2020. The player that I think that on this team you want to keep an eye on is Ryan Mendez. He's a 36-year-old winger. He's Cape Verde's captain, and as well as their all-time leader in goals with 22, and he's also leads them in appearances internationally at 96. Teams from the Confederation of Africa Football making their World Cup debut are 4-8-1 and have lost 4 straight games. So their World Cup odds right now are about plus 100,000, and the odds to advance from the group stage are about plus 225. Their Group H opponents will be Spain, Uruguay, and Saudi Arabia. So they got a very tough opponent list, with that Spain and Uruguay team, but really really cool for Cape Verde to make the World Cup. Morocco. Will the Blue Wave Cinderella story continue this summer? The Dutch territory becomes the smallest nation by both population and geographic area to ever qualify for a World Cup. But it can be rough waters for Morocco with a group that includes Ecuador, 4-time world champ Germany. And the team will have to do without legendary Dutch manager Dick Advocaat, who managed the Netherlands in the 1994 USA World Cup. Advocaat stepped back in March to take care of his ill daughter. But I want everybody to keep an eye out for Leonardo Bacuna. He's a 34-year-old central midfielder and right back who is Morocco's captain, as well as overall leader in appearances at 70. CONCACAF, the Confederation of North Central American Caribbean Association football teams making the debut in the World Cup are 2-6-3, with the USA winning in 1930 and Costa Rican winning in 1990. World Cup title odds for them are plus 150,000, and odds to advance in the group, yeah, not great, plus 800. So overall, they got Germany, Ecuador, and the Ivory Coast. So very, very tough group for them, but again, really cool for a small nation to make it. The next team I want to discuss is Haiti. You have to feel good for Haiti. They returned to the World Cup stage for the first time since 1974, and their country is in real despair right now. And, they've not even been able to play any qualifying matches on their home soil. And so overall, they took out some experienced CONCACAF teams like Costa Rica and Honduras, but, it's just going to be very, very tough for them. Brazil, Scotland, and Morocco being in their group, it's just, it's tough. Anytime you got Brazil in your group, it's going to be hard to advance. But keep an eye on Dukanes Nazan, who plays at the Iranian club Esteghlal. He's a 31-year-old striker, and he's Haiti's all-time leading scorer with 44 goals. Haiti's looking for their first win. They're 0-3-0 in the World Cup. And again, haven't been there since 1974. Plus 150,000 odds, to win the title, and plus 700 for them to get advance from the group. So it's going to be very, very tough for Haiti. Iraq, that is a team that's in the World Cup this year, the last team to officially qualify for the World Cup in March. The Lions of Mesopotamia are rewarded with arguably the toughest group in the field. France, Norway, and Senegal. They're led by former Australia coach Graham Arnold, and this Iraqi side should feel good about making just their second World Cup in team history. So their player I would keep an eye out for is Ali Al Hamadi from Luton Town. Is a 24-year-old striker, so very young player who played for Ipswich Town and Stoke City before being loaned out to his current club. In its lone World Cup appearance in 1986, Iraq actually lost all three group matches against Paraguay, Belgium, and Mexico. So this team, it's going to be difficult for them with their World Cup title odds of plus 100,000 and odds to advance from the group are plus 350. But their Group G opponents will be Norway, France, and Senegal. So Iraq, they're going to have a tough time. But again, all the teams that I've mentioned so far and gone over, it is, just an achievement to make it to this world stage. And that's something that people just have to realize. The next team I want to discuss is the country of Jordan. With the expanded 48-team field, Jordan will make its debut trip to the World Cup after having come close in 2014 by making the Intercontinental Playoffs. This team, which goes by the Chivalrous Ones, faces a big mountain this summer in a group that includes Argentina, Austria, and Algeria. And anytime you got Argentina, it's going to be tough. Keep an eye on Musa Al Tamari out of Rennes, is a 28-year-old winger who spent the last 3 seasons playing in France's League One, which is a really good league, and will be captain of the Jordan team. Teams from the Asian World Football Federation making their World Cup debut are winless. They've gone 0-10-1. So the only success has been a draw. Their World Cup title odds are plus 150,000, and their odds to advance from the group are plus 275. So not too shabby. But their Group J opponents with Austria, Algeria, and Argentina, it's going to make it tough. The next country I want to discuss is Uzbekistan. The biggest name on Uzbekistan's sideline may be its coach, Fabio Cannavaro, one of the greatest defenders of all time. He captained Italy to the World Cup in 2006, and along with a distinguished playing career, he coached across several clubs in Asia. He only took over for Uzbekistan in October after White Wolves had already secured their first World Cup spot. Keep an eye on Abdulkadir Kusanov. That will be the best player for them. He's a 22-year-old center back. He actually plays for Manchester City in the English Premier League, which is I think considered to me is one of the best leagues in the world for soccer. And he's also, besides playing center, he plays right back, and he scored in the FA Cup in 2025. Eldor Shomarov out of Istanbul, he'll captain the side at 30 years old and is the second in Turkish Super League in goals, scored this season with 16. So he's another great player. The World Cup title odds for this team, though, are plus 150,000, and their odds to advance from the group are plus 190. Their group opponents out of K will be Colombia, Portugal, and Congo. The next team I want to talk about is Congo. Congo DR wasn't supposed to make it this far, but a surprising qualifying campaign that included beating traditional powerhouses like Nigeria and Cameroon out of Africa has the Leopards back in the World Cup for the first time since 1974, when the country was known as Zaire. Congo DR need to beat Jamaica at the Intercontinental Playoffs to book its spot this summer. West Ham United right back Aaron Wan-Bissaka headlines an intriguing roster with plenty of European experience. And, keep an eye on Yoane Wissa out of Newcastle United, out of the English Premier League. He's a 29-year-old winger who has played, for the past 5 seasons. So him having that EPL experience is going to be huge. And he scored 49 goals in Brentford in 4 seasons. Facts to know, Congo DR is managed by Sebastian Desabari, who has won 29 games and drawn 8 times out of 48 matches since taking over in 2022. Their World Cup title odds are plus 70,000. That's probably the best so far I've mentioned. And the odds to advance from the group are minus 155. So it's very possible they can advance. Their Group K opponents will be Portugal, Colombia, and Uzbekistan. The next team I want to speak about is Ghana out of Africa. So I think a lot of people underestimate Ghana. Their individual talent on their roster, led by Manchester City standout forward Antoine Semenyo and Tottenham Hotspur midfielder Mohamed Kudus, is still, he has a sideline injury, but it's going to make them very tough opponents. You know, if he can't play, it's going to basically leave the Black Stars in a big pickle. Ghana did notably hire Carlos Queiroz, who has led 3 previous squads, South Africa, Portugal, and Iran, to the World Cup as a manager in March. I would keep an eye out on Inaki Williams out of Athletic Bilbao. Is a 31-year-old striker who has been playing in Spain's La Liga, which is another huge league, since 2014, and he scored more than 100 goals in the 500-plus appearances with his current club. Ghana has made 5 of the past 6 World Cups, and they made the quarterfinals in 2010. I was in college, I remember that, and they took down the USA. Their World Cup title odds at plus 35,000 still makes them, a kind of strong contender. And their odds to advance from the group are minus 155. So looks like they have a very, very possibility of making it on. Their Group L opponents are going to be Panama, England, and Croatia. New Zealand is the next team I'm going to discuss. They returned to the first big stage for the first time since 2010, when the team notably went undefeated, 3 straight draws, but they could not reach that knockout round. The return of star striker Chris Wood, who earlier this month played his first match for Nottingham Forest in nearly 6 months following knee injury, will give the All Whites some hopes this summer. Keep an eye on Marco Stamenik from Swansea City out of the English Premier League. Is a 24-year-old midfielder who has scored 2 goals and 2 assists in English football championships in 32 appearances. New Zealand is looking for their first win ever in the World Cup after going 0-3 in 2 previous appearances since 1982 and 2010. Their World Cup title odds are plus 100,000, and odds to advance from the group are plus 175. Their Group G opponents are Iran, Egypt, and Belgium. That'll be a very, very interesting group there in Group G. The next country I want to talk about is Panama. You know, never underestimate this tough squad. You know, just ask the USA, which lost to the Central America side of the 2024 Copa Americana and in the 2025 CONCACAF Nations League semifinals. With England, Croatia, and Ghana as group stage foes, look for Los Canelos to try and surprise those more talented squads. I would keep an eye out for Amir Murillo out of Besiktas, is a 30-year-old right back who made 62 appearances for Marseille from 2020 to 2026. Facts to know, Panama is looking for its first point ever in the World Cup after going 0-3 with all matches in 2018. Their World Cup title odds are plus 100,000, and their odds to advance from the group are plus 220. They have Ghana, Croatia, and England in their group coming out of L. The next team I want to talk about is a team that has actually hosted the World Cup, Qatar. Now, in its second straight World Cup, the 2022 hosts qualified for the 2026 on their playing merit this time around. Led by former Spain and Real Madrid boss Julian Lopetegui, they're still looking for their first point on soccer's biggest stage. They'll have to do so in a group that includes co-host Canada. So Canada will also be hosting, and Mexico will be also hosting games. So it's more of a North America field for the World Cup. Keep an eye on Akram Afif Al Saad, that's his team he plays for, is a 29-year-old winger who has third most appearances for Qatar with 132 and also ranks tied for third in goals with 41. Qatar is looking for its first point ever at the World Cup, having gone 0-3 since 2022, and they got to play the last World Cup because they were a host city. Their World Cup title odds are plus 100,000, and their odds to advance from the group are plus 300. Their Group B opponents will be Switzerland, Canada, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia makes headlines in 2022 by beating eventual champion Argentina in a group stage shocker. The Green Falcons have made it to 7 of the last 9 World Cups, but they'll need to pull off a monumental upset over either Spain or Uruguay in this group stage. And they'll have to do it without Hervé Renard, who abruptly left as their manager in early April. Keep an eye out on Saad Abdulhamid, is a 26-year-old right back who signed with Roma in 2024 before being loaned out to Lens last year. Saudi Arabia has made 7 of the last 9 World Cups and last made the knockout stage in 1994. Their World Cup title odds are plus 100,000, and their odds to advance from the group are plus 120. So they do have a shot. Their Group H opponents, Uruguay, Spain, and Cape Verde, are who they got to battle out of Group H. The next team is somebody who's also hosted the World Cup, South Africa. South Africa will play its first match of the entire World Cup for the second time in its history, and interestingly enough, against the same opponent. In 2010, it welcomed Mexico to Johannesburg, South Africa, but this time, Bafana Bafana will be visitors at the renovated Estadio Azteca in Mexico City. With the co-host and a tough South Korea team in the same group, it can be difficult to make a run this summer. Like Foster out of the Burnley team, he's the player I would keep an eye on. He's a 25-year-old center forward who played in the France League One, the Belgian Pro League, and currently plays in the English Premier League, so he has tons of experience. Facts and knows, South Africa took down France in the group stage in 2010, defeating it 3-2. The World Cup title odds are plus 80,000, and odds to advance from this group are plus 150, so they do have a shot. Mexico, Czechia, and South Korea will be the Group A opponents. The next team I want to talk about out of Africa is Algeria. Back at the World Cup for the first time since 2014, Algeria will get the honor of opening up its campaign against title holders Argentina in Kansas City. But Les Verts will be able to compete for that second group stage spot in the knockout round, especially with former Premier League winner Riyad Mahrez and upstart Manchester City left back Rayan Nouri. The player I would keep an eye on is Riyad Mahrez out of Al Ahly. He's a 35-year-old winger who will captain Algeria. He spent 10 seasons in the English Premier League, scoring 82 goals and 63 assists in 284 league appearances for Leicester City and Manchester City. So tons of English Premier League experience. He's a star. Algeria is one of the 5 CAF teams that have made the round of 16 in the 21st century. Their World Cup title odds are plus 35,000, so they do have a really good shot. And their odds to advance from the group are negative 250, so very, very strong. Their Group J opponents will be Argentina, Jordan, and Australia coming out of Group J. Australia is the next team that I want to discuss. The second opponent for the USA during the group stage. Expect the Socceroos to be a tough foe in Seattle. Australia gave Lionel Messi and eventual champions Argentina a scare in the round of 16 in Qatar before losing 2-1. And the 2026 event marks their 6th straight World Cup trip. Organized and physical under coach Tony Popovich, they'll be tough out. The player I would keep an eye on is Jackson Irvine out of FC St. Pauli. Is a 33-year-old central midfielder who has played in the Scottish Premiership, England's Championship, and Germany's Bundesliga. Facts to know, 2 of Australia's 4 total wins at the World Cup came in 2022, defeating Denmark and Tunisia. So World Cup title odds plus 45,000 and odds to advance to the group are plus 100. Their Group D opponents are Turkey, United States, and Paraguay. The next team I want to talk about is Bosnia and Herzegovina. So it still feels borderline unbelievable that they were able to keep Italy out of yet another World Cup. But as one of the feel-good storylines for this summer, this team could spell some trouble. And it does play co-host Canada in a group stage play. Legendary striker Edin Dzeko, now 41, is back in the spotlight. And American-born Esmer Bradovic, the Milwaukee Messi, who scored the decisive penalty over Italy. Keep an eye on Edin Dzeko, and is a 41-year-old striker, and he's played for Manchester City, Roma, and for Milan, so tons of experience in Europe. He's a star as well. Facts to know, this is their second appearance in the World Cup, but since becoming an independent nation in 1992. Their World Cup title odds are plus 25,000. Their odds to advance from the group are negative 475, so the strongest so far I've mentioned. Their Group B opponents are going to be Canada, Switzerland, and Qatar. The next team I want to talk about is Czechia. So qualifying for the World Cup out of the UEFA playoffs in March, the Czechs are back for the first time since 2006, needing penalties to oust Ireland and Denmark. The team will have to navigate a tricky group stage that includes taking on Mexico at Estadio Azteca. So the Mexico fans will be big time there. Keep an eye out for Patrick Schick out of Bayer Leverkusen. He's a 35-year-old striker who needs 3 goals to move into third all time for the team. Facts to know, Chisica became an independent nation in 1993 after making the finals twice as Czechoslovakia in 1934 and 1962. Their World Cup title odds are plus 15,000, which is very good. And their odds to advance from the group were negative 475, which is huge. So overall, their Group A opponents are going to be South Korea, South Africa, and Mexico. The next team I want to talk about is Iran. The objective for Team Melli, which has qualified for 4 straight World Cup tournaments, is finally able to reach the knockout stage for the first time in its team history. In a group that includes Belgium, Egypt, and New Zealand, that could be a reasonable objective. Keep an eye on Medhey Taremi out of Olympiacos. He's a 33-year-old striker who has played for Porto and Inter Milan, and Inter Milan is one of the best teams in the world. Facts to know, Iran has 3 wins all time at the World Cup, beating USA in 98, Morocco in 2018, and Wales in 2022. And, that Wales team, had Gareth Bale. So World Cup title odds plus 30,000, and their odds of advancing the group were negative 230, so they could move on. Their Group G opponents are going to be New Zealand, Belgium, and Egypt. The next team I want to talk about is the Ivory Coast, and I love the Ivory Coast. I love their soccer program. I've always been a huge fan. It's been a while since we last saw the Ivory Coast in the World Cup. Their last appearance was in 2014, and this is a different generation since Drogba's left. And, they call them the Elephants. But there is a talent on this roster, and a 4-0 thumping over South Korea in March friendly will provide momentum for this summer. Ahmed Diallo is a player I would like everybody to look out for. He's a 23-year-old winger who has made 63 appearances in the Premier League, scoring 11 goals and 13 assists as of April 10th, so very strong. Facts to know, Ivory Coast has made 3 previous World Cup appearances, but never advanced to the group stage. At plus 25,000 odds, that's their World Cup title odds, and their odds to advance from the group are negative 370, which is very, very strong. Their Group B opponents are Ecuador, Germany, and Morocco. And I think with Morocco in that mix, Ivory Coast, they just really got to, I think they can beat Ecuador. They just got to take down that German squad. Sweden is the next team I want to talk about. Under manager Graham Potter, Sweden has one of the most remarkable paths of any team that will be appearing at the World Cup. The Swedes didn't actually win a game in their initial qualifying campaign, but made World Cup playoffs due to their UEFA National League's performance. Well, the team's duo of talented Premier League strikers and Liverpool's Alexander Isaac and Victor Gyrigic, who scored 4 goals in March's playoff games, delivered this summer some success for Sweden. I would keep an eye out on Isaac, a 26-year-old striker who scored 62 goals, and he plays for Liverpool, and 11 assists in 109 appearances in Newcastle United before making the move to the current club of Liverpool. Sweden has made the quarterfinals 3 times since 1974, most recently in 2018. Their World Cup title odds are plus 8,000, very, very strong, and their odds to advance in the group are negative 250. So, with their odds for the World Cup title being that strong, their main thing is they just really need to get past this group stage. Tunisia, Netherlands, and Japan, those are their Group F opponents. Tunisia, out of Africa, with the 7 World Cup appearances in its history, will they make the knockout stage? The Eagles of Carthage know that it's a tough assignment with Netherlands and Japan in their Group A. They're the first African nation to win a World Cup match when they beat Mexico in 1978. Elis Saad out of Hanover 96 is a 26-year-old winger who's been playing in Germany since 2019. This is their 6th World Cup appearance and the last 8 editions of the tournament. World Cup title odds plus 50,000. Their odds to advance in the group are plus 120. And their Group F opponents are going to be Sweden, Japan, and the Netherlands. The next team I want to talk about out of Europe is going to be Austria. Back at the World Cup for the first time since 1998, Austria will rely on a strong veteran core this summer. Real Madrid defender David Alaba and Borussia Dortmund midfielder Marcel Sabitzer headline a group coached by Ralf Rangnick, who served as an interim manager for Manchester United. The Austrians can certainly hold their own in a group that includes Lionel Messi in Argentina, and Messi's the legend, star, the greatest player of all time. Keep an eye out of Alaba as a 33-year-old center back, Austria's captain, and second all time on the squad in appearances 112. And he plays for Real Madrid, which, again, one of the best teams in the world. Austria's best finish at the World Cup came in 1954, reaching the semifinals and finishing third place. The World Cup title odds are plus 10,000, and odds to advance from the group are negative 340. So you got out of that group J, you got Jordan, Argentina, and Algeria. The next team I want to talk about is Egypt. Fans will know to watch for Mohamed Salah. You know, Mohamed Salah is a star player. He's been huge, and he's the greatest player that Egypt's ever had. He's a Liverpool legend, and Egypt is the most successful team in Africa with 7 continental titles. They'll lean on Salah to help get the Pharaohs out of the group stage for the first time in the World Cup. Keep an eye out on Omar Marmoush out of Manchester City, a 27-year-old center forward who scored 37 goals and 20 assists for Eintracht Frankfurt in the Bundesliga move before moving to the Premier League. So he's playing over in Germany. Egypt is looking for its first win ever at the World Cup, recording a 0-5-2 win-loss draw record. And their 3 previous appearances are 1934, 1990, and 2018. Their World Cup title odds are plus 30,000, and their odds to advance from the group are strong, negative 310. Their Group G opponents will be Belgium, New Zealand, and Iran. And the next team I want to discuss is Paraguay. Paraguay is looking to spoil the party at the first opponent of the USA in group stage action. La Baroja will be led by midfielder Miguel Amaran, who is a familiar face having played for the MLS team Atlanta United. And he's also played in the Premier League for the Newcastle United before returning to the MLS. So he has American soccer experience. The team received some good news after a knee injury to Diogo Gomez earlier in April appeared to be less serious than initially expected, so he could play. Julio Enciso is a 22-year-old attacking midfielder who made 57 appearances with Brighton and Hove Albion before moving to France's League One last year. Paraguay reached the quarterfinal in the last World Cup appearance in 2010, losing to Spain, the eventual champions that year. They're at plus 20,000 World Cup title odds, and they have a very strong odds to advance from the group stage at negative 575. And their Group D opponents are going to be the United States, Turkey, and Paraguay. Scotland. That is a team that, they call the Tartan Army. There'll be a full voice this summer with Scotland back in the World Cup for the first time, since 1998. The Scots will be riding the success of star midfielder Scott McTominay, who scored an epic bicycle kick Golazo to clinch the country spot back in November. A former Manchester United project, McTominay has found the stride with Italian club Napoli. He'll have a chance to shine this summer against Brazil and Morocco. Keep an eye on Andy Robertson out of Liverpool. Liverpool is a great team out of the English Premier League. He's a 32-year-old left back who's Scotland's captain and second overall in the national team appearances with 92. Facts to know, in the 8 World Cup appearances, Scotland has never advanced past the group stage. Their World Cup title odds are plus 20,000, and their odds to advance the group are negative 230. Their Group C opponents are going to be Haiti, Morocco, and Brazil. I think Scotland just really has to get past that Brazil team. Senegal. Will history repeat itself like it did in 2002 when Senegal took down France in the opener? The Lions of Teranga won't surprise anyone like they did back then, especially as Senegal has become one of Africa's strongest sides. Led by former Liverpool and Bayern winger Sadio Mane, look to see Senegal make some noise in a group that includes tough opponents like France and Norway. Mane is a 34-year-old winger who made 269 appearances for Liverpool from 2016 to 2022, scoring 120 goals and 46 assists in that span. Facts to know, Senegal is one of just 3 CAF teams that have made quarterfinals of the World Cup coming out of Africa. The World Cup title odds are plus 10,000. Their odds to advance in the group are going to be negative 200. So, they got France, Norway, and Iraq in their group of, opponents are going to be tough. I mean, that's just going to be a tough group there. You can set your watch, for South Korea. That's the next team at the World Cup, with the Taeguk Warriors now making 11 straight tournament appearances. Back in 2002 as co-host, the squad became the first Asian team to reach the semifinals. How far can South Korea go this summer? It'll face co-host Mexico, but play European-based stars as well. on their team, South Korea could be the favorite in Group A. In its first full season at LAFC, Son Heung-min is in fine form. He leads the MLS with 7 assists, and he'll want to keep that momentum going in the World Cup. Kim Min-jae out of Bayern Munich, which is one of the best teams in the world out of Germany, is a 29-year-old center back who was named the best defender in Italy's Series A in 2023 and most recently won the Bundesliga title last season. South Korea has advanced to the knockout stage in 3 of the past 6 World Cups. Their World Cup title odds are plus 35,000, and their odds to advance in the group are negative 330. Their Group A opponents will be Czechia, Mexico, and South Africa. The next team I want to talk about is Belgium. So, longtime star Romelu Lukaku has been hampered by a hamstring injury, but there's still tons of experience for Belgium. The Red Devils' golden generation, which includes Lukaku, Napoli midfielder Kevin De Bruyne, and all-time world Real Madrid goalkeeper Courtois, can make one final push for the elusive trophy. Belgium's looked every bit of the part in its 5-2 win over USA in the March friendly, especially with its supporting cast that includes electric Manchester City winger Doku. Keep an eye out on De Bruyne out of Napoli. He's a 34-year-old midfielder who holds the record for becoming the fastest player to reach 100 assists in the English Premier League, which is iconic. So, back to know, Belgium has its best finish at the World Cup, has come in the semifinals, doing so in 86 and 2018. They got plus 3,500 World Cup title odds and odds to advance in the group at negative 2,000. Their Group G opponents will be Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. I think they have a very easy group stage. And in my opinion, I'm picking Belgium to win the World Cup. I think Belgium is tough. I think Belgium has star power, even with some injuries. And I think Belgium, after getting some big wins in this Group G, I think they can sweep all 3 teams, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. So I have Belgium winning the World Cup. And a lot of people will say, what about Brazil? What about Argentina? This is my pick, and I'm going with Belgium. Croatia is the next team I want to talk about. The runners up in the 2018 and third place in 2022. Has anyone, punched above its World Cup weight more than Croatia? Already with one of the most, unique hits in all of soccer, the checkered squad can't be counted out in 2026, especially with their, experience and Luka Modric, their star player. He's a superstar. And the 40-year-old midfielder, he's also a 2018 Balloon D winner and has 6 Champions League trophies to his name at Real Madrid. So the guy is a icon. Josko Gardoli is a 24-year-old Manchester City center back. That's my player to keep my eyes on and everybody to keep their eyes on. He's a left back who just signed for a reported 106 million by his current club in 2023, the second biggest transfer fee in Premier League history. So big money in soccer. Facts to know, Croatia has made the World Cup 6 times and has advanced to the semifinals in 3 of those appearances. The World Cup title odds are plus 9,000 and odds to advance to the group are negative 475. So England, Panama, and Ghana being their Group L opponents, that's going to be a fun group to watch. Germany, the 4-time World Cup winners. That's the next team I'm talking about. Shout out to Anna. That's my girl out of Germany and Munich. She loves her soccer. So, she's going to be very excited to watch this German team. And, they have a very, very strong chance to win the World Cup as well. Despite, Germany is also, they won it all in 2014 in Brazil, but they haven't advanced out of the group stage play in a while. Florian Wirtz is a great midfielder out of their team, and Jamal Musiala out of Bayern Munich, who gets to play in Germany. He's a 23-year-old attacking midfielder who's made over 140 appearances for his current club since 2019. A fun fact, no team has more appearances in the World Cup final than Germany with 8. Their World Cup title odds are plus 1,400 and negative 10,000, to advance from the group. So their group is another group I think they can sweep the field. Morocco, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador. They got real lucky with that group. Same way like that I was describing Belgium. Japan, they call them the Samurai Blues. Japan looked impressive in March in friendly wins over England and Scotland, only adding the buzz surrounding one of Asia's most talented teams. They produced 2 of the biggest upsets in 2022 beating Germany and Spain in the group phase, but the team has never passed the round of 16. The star player I would look for is Kaoru Miyatoma. He's a 28-year-old winger who has made 109 appearances in the English Premier League since 2022 and 2023, recording 22 goals and 18 assists. Japan has made it to the knockout stage in 4 of the past 7 World Cups. Their World Cup title odds are plus 5,000, and their odds to advance from the group are negative 340. So I think this is the year they will get to that 16. Group F opponents are Netherlands, Tanzania, and Sweden. So very, very easy for them to get through this group. The Netherlands. Behind the best team to have never won a World Cup, their fans are very, very hungry for a trophy. The Dutch team has tons of talent. Frankie de Jong, Cody Gakpo, Virgil van Dijk. They're pretty much got some great players. And the player I would look out for the most is Ryan Gravenberch out of Liverpool. He's a 23-year-old defensive midfielder. He overall had played in 37 matches, and he won the English Premier League last season. Netherlands has made the final of the World Cup 3 times, but has yet to win. Their World Cup title odds are plus 2,000, and their odds to advance from the group are negative 1,400. So Netherlands have a very, very strong chance. I remember watching them back in college when they got to the championship. They have Japan, Sweden, and Tunisia, out of their Group F opponents. So I think their main fear out of that group is going to be Japan. Switzerland is the next team I want to talk about. The team is headed to its 6th consecutive World Cup. It's reached the round of 16 in each of the last 3 editions. They have Premier League veterans Akanji and Xhaka. And, overall, they haven't, made it to the quarterfinals, since 1954. Xhaka, he's a 33-year-old defensive midfielder. He's the captain of Switzerland. That's the player I would look for, with 144 appearances for the Switzerland team. Switzerland has made the knockout stage in each of the last 3 World Cups, as well as 4 of the last 5. They got plus 10,000 odds of winning it all and negative 1,800 from the group. So very, very strong, team to make out of the group. With Qatar, Bosnia, and Canada in their, Group B opponents, I think Switzerland can sweep that group. Turkey. Some people call it Turkey. Returns the World Cup after a 24-year-old hiatus. It's reached the semifinals in 2002, losing to eventual champion Brazil by a single goal. So overall, the summer in a group of Australia, Paraguay, and USA, the Crescent Stars, they're a very big favorite to come out on top out of that group. Guler out of Real Madrid is a 21-year-old attacking midfielder who's made 100 appearances since 2023. This is Turkey's 3rd appearance in the World Cup, having made it in 1954 and 2002. With plus 6,500 World Cup title odds and negative 500 out of their group, that you're going to have a strong World Cup, it sounds like. Australia, Paraguay, and United States are their Group F opponents. Uruguay, the winners of the first ever World Cup in 1930. Uruguay wants to reach the final once again for the first time since winning its 2nd title in 1950. So they do have some championships under their belt. Ronald Araujo out of Barcelona, which Barcelona is a huge team around the world, is a 27-year-old center back who's made more than 200 appearances with his current club since 2019. Uruguay is one of the 10 nations that have made the World Cup on 15 different occasions. Their World Cup title odds are plus 6,500, and their odds to advance in the group are negative 800. Their Group H opponents are Saudi Arabia, Cape Verde, and Spain. Canada, that's another team that will be part of the hosting duties like Mexico and the USA. Overall, Canada returned to the World Cup in 2022 after last appearing in 1986, and now this summer, the Canadians are co-hosts. Wisconsin native and former MLSer Jesse Marsick managed the squad to some history by winning the Canada's first World Cup game ever. Alphonso Davies, who can play as forward or defender, has been a pivotal player for Bayern Munich over several seasons. Jonathan David out of Juvenis is a 26-year-old striker who scored 87 goals and 17 assists in 178 League One appearances for Lille before his move to Italy last year. Facts to know, Canada is looking for its first point ever in World Cup history. They've gone 0-6-0. Their World Cup title odds are plus 20,000, and their odds to advance in the group are strong, with them being the home team, negative 500, with Bosnia, Qatar, and Switzerland. That group is going to be kind of up for grabs out of, that group. Colombia. France and Croatia were disappointing, but Colombia could be one of the biggest surprises this summer. Los Cafeteros, they finished behind Argentina and fellow sleeper Ecuador in the South America qualifiers. Luis Diaz out of Bayern Munich is a 29-year-old winger who spent 4 seasons at Liverpool and currently ranks third in both goals and assists over in Germany. This will be Colombia's seventh World Cup appearance, with its best finish coming in 2014, reaching the quarterfinals. Their World Cup title odds are plus 4,000, and odds to advance from the group are negative 800. Their Group K opponents, Uzbekistan, Congo DR, and Portugal, that is who to look out for. In that group, that group's going to be tough, and their team to look out for. And like I said, that is a group to watch because I think anybody can get out of that Group K. And there's a lot of groups that people can slide by or they're going to be stuck. Ecuador is the next team I want to talk about. They could be the toughest team out of South America at this World Cup, which is huge. They have a lot of headlining players. They got players that play for Chelsea, my favorite team. William Poncho out of Paris, Saint Germain, one of the biggest teams in France, is a 24-year-old center back who's made more than 30 Champions League appearances for his current club. The year's team is considered Ecuador's golden generation, with several players playing in Europe's top leagues. World Cup title odds plus 8,000, odds to advance in the group negative 900. So, definitely a team to watch, definitely a team that could advance from that group. Their Group E opponents, Ivory Coast, Morocco, and Germany. I think, overall, Ecuador could get in that mix. The next team, one of the host nations, will be Mexico. They have actually hosted the World Cup on 3 different occasions. I think with their fans down there, it's going to be huge for them. And they like to call them El Tri. Alvaro Fidalgo out of Real Betis is a 29-year-old central midfielder, and he overall made his appearance at World Madrid in 2018 before moving to Club America in 2020. He's made 228 appearances since that move, and overall, they've had very, very strong quarterfinal finishes in 70, 86, and their best finish at the World Cup were those two. Their World Cup title odds are plus 7,000. Their odds to advance the group are negative 750. I think they're going to get in that group of 16. They got South Africa, South Korea, and Czechia. So Morocco, Morocco won't sneak up on anyone this time around. It'll face big expectations to make another deep run at this summer's World Cup. The Atlas Lions become the first African Arab nation to reach the semifinals. Morocco hosted the Africa Cup of Nations, which is a huge tournament in Africa. And overall, they were given a title after a controversial finish with Senegal. Akrif Hakami is a 27-year-old right back who has played for Real Madrid, and he's played over at Dortmund in Germany and Inter Milan over in, Spain, and then making the move to Paris Saint-Germain and out of France in 2021. Excuse me, Inter Milan out of France. But overall, Morocco has advanced past the group stage twice, making the round of 16 in 1986 and the semifinals in 2022. I think the World Cup title odds for them are plus 6,000. And for them to advance from this group is going to be negative 1,000. I think who they're going to have to look out for is that Brazil and Scotland team. So this is another Group C. I can't guarantee opponent. They have Haiti as well, but I think Haiti's going to get an 0-3 over across the board. But it's a very strong group. All 4 teams can compete. Norway. Shout out to Norway. I love Norway. I'm friends with Norwegians. Went there in 2008. Great country, and I'm glad to see them back here on the World Cup stage. They've been absent from the World Cup since 1998, but they're back and they're fully looking to make their presence felt. Erling Haaland, their Manchester City striker, that's going to be the star player. And then Odegaard is also a 27-year-old attacking midfielder. He's the captain of the team, and he's made more than 200 appearances at Arsenal. He will be a star as well. This will be Norway's 4th appearance of the World Cup, exiting in the round of 16 in 2 of those appearances. Their World Cup title odds are plus 2,800, and their odds of advancing the group are negative 575. Iraq, Senegal, and France. I think Senegal and France will be the teams that give Norway a little trouble. But with their star power, Norway, they could sweep that group. And they got strong odds. The United States, I'm coming out of Louisville, Kentucky, so I'm over here in the USA, and they're also hosting. They'll be playing on the World Cup on home soil for the first time since 1994. They're hoping to make a deep run this summer. under highly paid former Chelsea and Paris Saint-Germain manager Mauricio Pochettino, and it won't be easy for FIFA's 16th ranked squad. Overall, Pulisic is a 27-year-old forward winger. That's the player to look out for, and was one of the two players to score at least 10 goals, at least 9 assists in Series A play last season. USA has made the knockout stage in 5 of its last 8 World Cups. World Cup title odds are plus 6,500, and their odds to advance the group are negative 575. They got Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey. I think they can make it through the group, but USA is going to have a tough run. Argentina. Woo! This is a strong squad. Messi hasn't officially committed for this summer, but all points, signs point to him being, back, and the 30-year superstar wants to get back-to-back World Cup titles. With my pick of Belgium, if they don't win it, I think Argentina will be the winner of the championship. I think they can go back to back if Belgium doesn't win it like I predicted. Keep an eye out on Julian Alvarez out of Atletico Madrid. He's a 26-year-old striker who just acquired for 104 million from Manchester City in 2024. And Argentina is one of 4 teams that made it to 6 World Cup titles, winning 3 of them. World Cup title odds plus 850, and their odds to advance the group are negative 10,000. So overall, like I said, Argentina is going to make a strong run. With Algeria, Austria, and Jordan as their Group J opponents, I think that's a clean sweep for them. Brazil, the only nation that participated in all 23 editions of the World Cup. So they always make it. Shout out to Bob Marley. Rest in peace to Bob Marley. He loved Brazil soccer. I actually did episode 20 on Bob Marley and talked about that. So it's really cool. And, Brazil, they really, really want to win a World Cup. Their World Cup title odds are plus 850. A star player is Junior out of Real Madrid, and I think it's going to be a player. He was a runner-up in the Ballon d'Or voting, which is best player in the world. So he's a star. And with their Group C opponents of Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland, I think they can make a strong, clean sweep. England. Star striker Harry Kane just won the German title with his club Bayern Munich. Can he now further his trophy haul? Kane has also won a Champions League trophy with Bayern, but the ultimate prize will be winning the World Cup for England. And everybody usually has very, very strong rooting for England because England has such great professional soccer and stars. You think they make a run, but they haven't won a title since '66. But with World Cup title odds of plus 600 and odds to advance the group negative 10,000, this could be the year. Croatia, Ghana, and Panama will be their Group L opponents, and I don't think that's the strongest group. So I think England can really make a run, but again, that Ghana team's always good. France. So France has made the 4 of the last 7 World Cup finals. Michael Olise out of Bayern Munich, he's had 29 assists. That's the player I would look for. And he's 3 years shy of joining Lionel Messi and Makerton as Armenia's all-time goal leader, as the only players to record 32 assists in a single season in this century. I think overall they are, very, very good. It's one of the greatest World Cup finals ever when they fell short to Argentina in 2022. And, the Les Blues is what they call them. They had a strong, strong chance. That Group I opponents is Senegal, Iraq, and Norway, gives them a good shot to make a run. Portugal. So the question isn't whether Ronaldo will be at the World Cup, but whether Portugal will actually need the 41-year-old superstar this time around. Ronaldo's been dealing with a hamstring injury early. Ronaldo is considered the second best player of all time behind Lionel Messi. And, but overall, he is a 5-time Ballon d'Or winner. So it'll be huge to see if he makes it or not. Vitna out of Portugal is a 26-year-old defensive midfielder. He finished third in the Ballon d'Or voting in 2025. So very, very big star power there for that Portugal team. And this will be Portugal's 7th straight World Cup, with its best finish coming in 2006 and 1966, making the semifinals. World Cup title odds plus 1,100. Odds to advance in the group negative 5,000. They got Congo, Uzbekistan, and that's their Group K opponents. And I think overall, Portugal they'll be in the mix a little bit, but I just don't think they are the team to win it this year. I just don't, and especially with Ronaldo being in and out. Even though Ronaldo's gotten up in age, he's like LeBron James, keeps healthy, stays on top of his body, and still brings that star power. And even if they don't win, all eyes are usually on that Portugal team. The next team I want to talk about is Spain. Not advancing beyond the round of 16 since 2010 when they won their only title. They have many, many star players. Their World Cup title odds are plus 450, and their odds to advance in the group are negative 10,000. I think their group is pretty weak besides that Uruguay team. Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay out of Group H. I think they'll get a clean sweep. And with its 2024 Euro title, Spain is the only country to win the tournament 3 times, and also the only nation to have won in its consecutive editions 2008, 2012. So overall, that is all the teams in the 2026 World Cup. I have broken down all the teams. I've given you my predictions. I've given you star players. So you should be prepared for this 2026 World Cup that'll be coming out of Mexico, Canada, and the United States. I'm very, very excited for this summer. I can't wait to watch. I'd love to try to make a game. It just all depends on scheduling, but I'm definitely going to be tuned in. The World Cup will run from June 11th to July 19th in 2026. It's going to spread across 3 countries. The tournament will culminate with the final on July 19th at New York, New Jersey Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. All 104 tournament matches will be aired live across Fox and FS1, with every match streaming live and on demand with both the Fox One and the Fox Sports app. So everybody will be able to tune in and watch. A record 40 matches, more than 1/3 of the tournament, will air in prime time across Fox and FS1. So this is the 2026 World Cup. My pick is Belgium. I think if Belgium doesn't make it, Argentina will win it. It'll be awesome to see if Messi can do it and come back. And so, a lot of the star players I grew up on are getting old or retired. So it's really cool to see the new blood and to see, what teams can advance. And I love that there's some small countries in it. Hopefully USA can make a run. I'll be rooting for the Ivory Coast as well, but Belgium's my pick. Again, everyone, thank you for an incredible season 7. This podcast is a blast. I love it. I'm so proud of it. I'm proud of you all for listening and supporting, and I'm very, very appreciative and thankful. BibleWithSleazy.com is the website. Bible with Sleazy, the podcast, Facebook, Instagram. Again, show love, supports, and questions, messages, and I can't wait to start season 8 in 2027. I love you all. Peace.